All right, hello everyone and welcome. My name is John, and in this video I want to show you my new absolute favorite method for propagating plants. Now, some of you may have seen the video I posted a while back called the magical propagation method, and in that video I showed you the method of using perlite in a jar inside the humidity bin. And to this day, that's still the best method I've ever tested for plants that you want to grow in soil. This year I've been switching the majority of my plants to the passive hydroponics style of growing, and I'm really loving it. And I just recently discovered a new propagation method that works even better for plants that you are planning to grow in hydro. Okay, so first I just have to say I do not recommend to anyone that they propagate directly in lecca. I've done hundreds of successful propagations over the years, and propagating straight into lecca is by far the absolute slowest method I've ever tested. I just find it to be painfully, excruciatingly slow. And even when you're doing it in a jar of lecca, it can be a really long time before you see any sign of root growth whatsoever. So I just think because of the size of most of the lecca that we're all using, the ratio of air to moisture is not the best for propagation. There's way too much air, not enough moisture, and it just, in my experience, has been absurdly slow. Okay, so when we're talking about propagation, the number one enemy of propagation, the number one reason anything would fail is rot. So maybe there's too much moisture, not enough air, things are just staying sopping wet, and the plant starts to rot and decompose. You can see it get mushy, and if you don't correct that right away, it will spread through the whole plant and that cutting will no longer be viable. So in order to avoid rot, for a long time, I assumed that propagating directly in water inside the humidity bin would just be no good at all. I assumed that that would just be way too much moisture, way too wet, and that no cutting would really enjoy that method. Now, what I've learned this year through my experiments is that you can easily propagate straight in water inside the humidity bin. It doesn't matter that the humidity is going to be over 90% in there. The cutting, a healthy cutting, will root in water, and in fact, I found them to root very, very quickly inside the bin. There have been quite a few cuttings I've taken this year that are showing already some nice root growth in only a week. And I was fortunate enough to receive this beautiful Anthurium crystallinum from a friend earlier this year, and she gave it to me just in a jar of water. It had already been in there for a while. It had a nice looking root system, so it was water propagation. I put it into my humidity bin in this jar of lecca, and it absolutely exploded. The root system just took off so fast, faster. I've never seen a cutting go into lecca and just explode like that before. So that got me thinking. And I also at that time had this aglaonema I was propagating, and it kept failing, so I kept chopping it smaller and smaller. I eventually rooted that in water, threw that in a jar of lecca, and it grew roots so fast. And I unfortunately can't show you that one today because it's already in a pot with all my other aglaonemas. But that showed me that this method, there seems to be something to this. The water propagation inside the bin works very well, very quickly. And then something about those water roots, when you switch them into that jar of lecca, they just seem to, so far in my experiments, they seem to just take off right away. And you've probably heard that water roots don't really transition to soil very easily, and a lot of times that can be true. The roots are kind of too soft, they get damaged when you're putting them into the soil. They have to really transition to that environment. It does seem like the transition from water to lecca is phenomenal. So smooth and very effective. So I have these three beautiful cuttings here today in water, already rooted from my bins. We're gonna pot them up into lecca today, just in these same jars here, and then we will see how long it takes before we've got some nice roots going. Now, I do expect these two to go very quickly because they will be in the humidity bin. This Monstera doesn't fit in there, so it's not gonna have that benefit, but this Monstera cutting grew roots so fast in this water here. So I sold my mother plant recently. I kept this gorgeous top cutting for myself. It rooted right away, thank goodness, because I don't have a mother plant anymore. So I'm very happy about that, but we're gonna throw it into, I'm gonna fill this vase with lecca today, and we'll see how quickly those roots start filling that vase. Now, in my experience, Monsteras are incredibly fast growers and propagators, and so I expect that this will do quite well. Okay, so for those of you wondering about the humidity bins, so I got this long piece of wood, I mounted these table legs to it, and then I just put these 4-foot LED light strips underneath, and I have these plastic bins here from Home Depot. So this is the perfect year-long propagation setup that I use all the time, and anytime a plant needs some rehab or needs some boost, it's going in there. Okay, so first we add a little base layer. So you do need to be gentle. I just kind of smushed one of these nubs with my fingers. Okay, so you cannot see any roots at all. So that's perfect. So we'll see how long it takes. Okay, so I had to go get a bigger jar. So I get this base layer in here. Okay, so on this one, I can see some roots on the side of the jar already. So we will keep an eye out for new roots as soon as they arrive. Okay, so what I like to do is then fill the jar all the way, and then I'm not giving them bottled water, I reuse this bottle. So I'm gonna fill the jar to the top. Woo. So I'm gonna let these sit for maybe an hour or so, just so that lecca can really absorb water. These plants will get a nice big drink, and then I'll drain it and I'll add that nutrient water down to, the inch mark or so. All right, so got these all in their jars of lecca. They're full of water, just soaking that up for a little bit. These two will go in the bin. That one's just gonna go back over by the window. It does have some supplementary light on it. So we'll see if these react and grow as quickly as the other plants I've done this method on so far. All right, so let's get some time on the clock. Hey Siri, what is today? Hey Siri, what day is it?
It's Sunday, the 19th of December, 2021.
And we're back. Hey Siri, what day is it?
It's Sunday, the 9th of January, 2022.
All right, so it has been 3 weeks since I transferred all of these to lecca, and just as I had hoped, there's a ton of root growth. I will show you some close-ups, especially this little monster over here has really grown an outrageous amount of roots in just a couple weeks. Now, I wish I had gotten footage of these at the 1 week mark because they already had roots that I could see at the sides of the jars. So far, this has done exceptionally well every time I've tried it, which is only a handful of times, but I've done enough propagations over the years to be totally confident that this is an incredible method, and this is, since I'm moving everything towards hydro nowadays, this is going to be my go-to method from now on. Okay, and first let me just take a moment to give thanks for my Monstera Thai Constellation cutting, which has not only survived, but has grown a ton of roots. So I know I'm not gonna lose it. It is looking like a very healthy plant, and I imagine it will actually start pushing out a leaf here pretty soon. But in either case, past the danger zone, no fear at all of losing this thing. It's doing incredibly well. Okay, so the main takeaways I want you to get from this video is one, that water propagation inside a humidity bin or humidity chamber, IKEA greenhouse, it's fantastic. It's not too much moisture. I haven't had any issues with rot at all. And in fact, the propagations in water have worked very quickly and very well. And the second and main thing is that those water roots transition into this jar of lecca so well. It's such a good transition. So if you're planning to grow your plants in a hydroponics setup and you're taking cuttings to prepare for that, I would highly suggest you do a water root and then you transition them to the jar of lecca. So we still have some experiments to do because I don't know the optimal length of time that the plants should be left in water before you transition them. I think about the longest roots I had were maybe an inch or two long before I switched them into lecca, and those did super well. I suspect that that's a little bit better than if you just let the small nubs of roots show before you switch it. I don't know what's the perfect time, but in general, the reason that people don't like water propagation is because if you leave the plant in there too long, it just grows all these water roots which struggle transitioning to soil. So I'm sure there's kind of like a happy medium length of time that would be optimal. But I would say for sure, if your plant is in water and it starts pushing out a new leaf, then it's definitely time to switch it because it already has, a robust enough root system that is pushing out leafy growth. Okay, so I hope this helps. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope this inspires you to do your own experiments. Please don't be afraid of this method at all. It has worked fantastically well. It's going to be my go-to method from now on as I'm switching everything over to a hydroponics setup. So if you enjoyed the video, if this helps you at all, please do me a favor, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I also hope to connect with more of you over on my Instagram at Enlightened Gardener. So as always, thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the best with your plants and with your life, and I hope to see you back here again real soon. Peace.